In order to have a successful podcast, we're still trying to figure that out. And if you're here watching this video, you're probably trying to figure out whether you should start one or what's going wrong with your own podcast. And I think that we're still trying to figure that out, whether we can keep going or whatever. And these are questions that are always kind of swirling around. But if you are looking for kind of the simple, at least this is what we thought were good hurdles to clear at first. This really gave us confidence. So I'm going to share a couple of stats with you. So number one, I heard that 30% of all podcasts, or 90% of all podcasts, will fail in the first 3 episodes.
What?
Yeah.
Like only 3 episodes?
In 3 episodes, okay? They do the third. They're like, I don't want to do this anymore. They bought all this gear, and we saw it on Facebook. I should have bought that back then. On Facebook Marketplace, SM7Bs, Rodecaster Pros, they were on sale after like the third. And this is kind of a pandemic kind of a phenomenon where everyone wanted to do that.
Back in the day, yeah.
Back in the day, looking back 2 years ago. The next hurdle is a bigger one to clear. It seems like you're on your way at episode 20, and then another 90% quit after that.
Wait, if you've done 20%, 20 episodes, you might as well keep going.
You might as well keep going, or you just hit the wall. And we're going to share with you some of the tips that some of the hacks that we put into place to make sure that we not only cleared these 2 hurdles, but we were just set up for success after that. Well, at least success in the sense that we could keep going for a lot longer and maybe sustain this whole thing. All right. So obviously it isn't that easy to just hit episode number 21, because if you hit episode 21, you're already in the top 1% of all podcasts in the world.
1%.
Right? I mean, isn't that incredible? But it's not that easy.
Okay.
But it can be with some of the things that we're going to put in your place. So on our podcast show this week, not only have we jumped those 2 hurdles with over almost 80 shows now.
Yeah.
80 actual shows. 70-ish episodes.
Yeah.
So we had some bonus episodes as well, too. Wow. It all started with kind of another jumping off point for us, is that we wanted to get sponsorship in the beginning. We kind of kid about that because no one's going to sponsor this, but we love some sponsors. It happened in May of 2023.
It did.
Okay.
It did.
So we're going to cover how that happened and how we got to that. And in season 6, which is this season that you're watching right now, we welcome 2 more amazing sponsors that wanted to work with us. And it was all a matter of making sure that those were the right fit, and we'll share some of our ideas around that.
Sure.
And of course, because we are now veterans with more than 21 episodes, we're like the top 1% of all podcasts in the world.
Congrats.
Thank you. I think. We're going to be giving back. We're going to be giving you all the information that we can to help you with your successful podcast enterprise. Now, what we say may not work for you. And what we tell you, you may not even listen to. But at least you know that there is a blueprint out there that someone used to make it all work. And if you take any of our ideas, we thank you, because it just means that what we're doing actually worked. Because ideas are a dime a dozen. If we give you an idea and you run with it, all you need to do is just let us know. We just want to know that something worked, because then that way we know that, hey, let's try something else.
We're giving back to the community.
We will keep sharing our ideas as long as they are welcome. Okay?
Yeah.
So how did it all begin? It began in, May of it was before that, actually. We started talking about this in January of 2022. Okay?
That's right.
That was a good 1.5 years ago.
A little bit over 1.5 years.
A little bit over 1.5 years ago, where we, I think you were actually the one that approached me. I didn't want to do this.
Well, when I arrived in Canada in 2022, I met up with Stephen, and I wanted to do something together, something different. We decided to record podcasts. I think it was around April of 2022.
Yeah.
So we met up in January 2022, started having the ideas, and then thought, okay, let's go for it and record. Started recording in April 2022.
Yeah.
But we didn't release any episodes until I think it was about kind of May time.
Yeah, that
Right?
our anniversary day. Yeah. So
And it was fun, and I really enjoyed it, and but the rest is history. You know? So
it really is. At that time, I had already, I was let go of. Actually, funny thing is that the whole thing imploded. The TV show that I was on basically went away. So
it was because of the COVID, right?
No, it was because of, I can't talk about it. But it wasn't my fault.
Okay.
It wasn't my fault because I was a top performer because one of my videos actually ended up being in front of everyone. It was the Windows 11 upgrade guide video.
Oh, the Windows hack. Okay.
Yeah, the Windows hack video that was well over 1 million views now, like heading to 2 million probably. And everyone saw it. Everyone saw that. But it took work to make something like that happen.
Okay.
It's just that the time wasn't available for me to do like home runs like that. And the show was some behind the scenes things were happening that I didn't have control of. So I think being let go early on was kind of a bit of a kindness because it allowed me to figure out what else I wanted to do. That was back in February.
Yeah.
And this is about around the same time that Winston actually approached me and saying, hey, what's going on? I started to take that more seriously because I'm like, I had something to prove because I knew that a video podcast that you owned was worth way more than something that you did not own, like a radio show that was hosted somewhere else. And part of the TV show I was on had a radio show with a great host. He's fantastic. I mean, he had to do the hard thing to let me go. I didn't know he didn't want to, but powers that be, he's a partner in his company. He's got to toe the line too, right?
Yeah.
But I took the thesis that I had and worked for Winston, and I'm like, hey, let's just talk about stuff. Let's just make it simple and easy. And this is kind of the setup for success here. So I'm going to run through it. So basically, what we did before we even started anything is that we took a spreadsheet and we wrote out 100 freaking ideas.
We did
100 freaking ideas.
All he had was a little phone. I remember we're sitting in the cafe and said, "Look, let's do a podcast. Like, I want to do some recording." And we got through some ideas, and he just pulled out his phone, Google Sheets or Google whatever it was, notes, and he started writing it down. And I think, wow, okay, it's getting there.
Yeah.
Because
if you don't have 100 ideas, how are you going to get to 100 shows? Right? Honestly, right? This is why 90% of the podcasts fail, because you have conversations with people for 3 shows and they're like, this is boring. What's next?
Yeah.
What's next? We always have a next. We haven't even gotten to 100 shows yet. We haven't even used all of our ideas up yet.
Not yet. We still have more.
Yeah. And the reason why we were out of the gate running is because, like Winston alluded to, we recorded our first 10 shows before we even started the podcast. We needed to know that our process was sound so that we could keep it going every single week.
Yeah.
So in May of 2022, we launched our first podcast show, the first episode, which is, when I look on it, it's real cringe. It's real cringe, but we did it.
You gotta get your foot in the door, right?
Yeah, we gotta start, right?
Yeah.
So now that we have 10 episodes to start with, it set us up to hit 20 because every week we did 2 more while we were launching those 2 shows. So by the time we launched all 10 of our original shows, we already had another 20 ready to go.
That's right.
So we made it past 20 episodes. We went way beyond the second hurdle.
Yeah.
We were already at 30 before the end of that, right? And we kept recording. We kept going.
That's right. Yeah.
We kept doing it. We kept updating the sheet to make sure that the other thing that we had was something called a rundown.
A rundown.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this right here that you're looking at is an example of a rundown. Our conversations are guided. I mean, we could be talking about something and go all over the freaking place, but a rundown brings us back.
It's a guide.
It brings us back. It's a roadmap so that even when we go off course, we're coming back to something. We're making a point here to help you. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and this is just the thing. I went off there. I'm coming back. So because we had 100 show idea sheet that keeps growing, because we had 10 shows ready to go, because we were recording 2 shows a week while we were releasing those 2 shows, guess what? we were both consistent and sustainable, because consistency and sustainability are two keys for any YouTube channel to grow, right?
Yeah,
if you don't have these two things, it's not going to work, right? You have to be able to release a consistent schedule of content so that the algorithm, the audience, gets used to you and knows when you're going to release a show every Wednesday at 12 on YouTube. They know that.
At noon.
They know that at noon, right? They know that. So the batch recording was definitely one of our key things. I think we did almost 3 or 4 shows one day. It almost killed us.
It was quite heavy, yeah. Because you got to think about, although those shows is only like 40 minutes or an hour, it's a lot of research, a lot of like
talking.
Yeah, you need that energy level, right? Because if you haven't got that energy level, it's not gonna bring the excitement in that topic, in the stuff that we talk about.
Yeah.
But by the end of the second or third episode session, you'd be like, oh, the energy level's gone way down. So I think we found out it was good to have 2 sessions.
2 was our max.
Yeah.
And we're still looking for a coffee sponsor, so please call me.
What's this coffee? We need coffee.
We need coffee. And most importantly, you might think that you're a good talker on your own, and you might be full of energy, but you need a co-host. You need someone on the other side to help you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have done this show as a solo act. I would not do it.
It's not. I've seen people doing it on their own, and it takes a certain character to do that. Because if you've seen some of the people who stream and stuff like that, it's different because the game streaming, you're talking to gamers. They have a different.
Or you're screaming into the microphone. It's funny.
But when you're talking a podcast, like talking about certain topics or subjects, it's different, right? And I think having a co-host really makes it a lot easier because you can feed off each other.
Yep.
And you can see and feel their reactions, and it makes a podcast so much fun because
it helps us. Like if we go way off the reservation, at least we can come back to the reservation. Someone's pulling us back.
That's right. And then I'll just come in and say to a different section on the rundown. And then kind of like,
so
helps.
This is our whole, this is part of the workflow that we needed to work through because, beyond equipment, beyond anything else, we needed to make sure that we had 10 scripts ready to go. There was no way. 10 rundowns, 100 ideas. Let's start recording these, okay? Let's make it through these batches. Let's see what happens, right? And this was part of tweaking that workflow.
And if you notice, when we watched our first ever podcast, we were doing it remotely, right? He was over in Coquitlam. I was over in Richmond. It was like how many, 40 minutes drive away?
Depends.
During traffic.
Yeah.
So it's it was the only way we could figure out how to do the podcast, to do it remotely. And there's certain platforms, and we'll talk about that in a sec. And then, of course, as we progress, we find that it's better to actually be in the same place.
Yeah, because
same room.
We were, again, COVID made it very difficult for some of these podcasts, for better and for worse, some of these podcasts to actually take off. I think that they might have had a better chance if they were actually in the same room because it's a different energy altogether. If I wasn't, like right now, we're doing 2 shows a week and recording them back to back. So without Winston being in the room and having that ramen break in between these shows, I probably would be like, I don't want to talk to you on the, like we've been talking to each other on conference calls for 2 years.
It gets a bit boring.
No one wants to see that again. Okay.
Are you in the same room?
Yeah.
Oh.
No one wants to see that.
So I got to answer my kids. They got dinner.
This is required. We have to, for a successful podcast in 2023, you need to be in the same room. Okay. I'm going to say that right now.
Yeah.
But it was also about tweaking our workflow. So we had to make some changes. We had to make this work based on the time that we had. We're both very busy guys. We've got families and everything like that running around. So we needed to make not only the recording easy, but also the post-production easy. And those were some of the things that I want to share here. So over the course of the year and a half, we learned a few things. So number one, the rundown is very, very important. Okay. If you don't have a rundown, don't record the show. Like I'm serious. Do not record until you have a rundown. Write something down, even if you scribble it down, because you need the beginning, middle, and end. You absolutely have to have that. Otherwise, you don't know where you're going to go.
And or where the audience gets lost and they don't know where.
Are you still with us? So just, those mental health checks with the audience here, right? So rundowns are essential so that, we are on the conversation together. You'll be able to follow things through. The other thing is to record in quiet spaces. I know that recording at home was actually very nice because we could quiet everyone down, but that also affected our families because we had to quiet them down.
Yeah.
They deserve to be in the space as well too. It's good that we're here now together. Okay. So if you can find a spot somewhere, maybe a coffee shop before opening, they're okay with you recording there, or even libraries have these quiet rooms.
Yeah.
They might actually allow you. Some of them have. I know Vancouver Public Library below. There's actually podcast studios. Some co-working spaces they have recording booths, right? Or
recording booths, yeah,
or conference rooms. Maybe something like that is just enough, or even a space in your home that is quiet where two of you can get together at a time of day where you're not affecting anyone else, where there's no surprises.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Most of the times we record are during when the kids are in school.
Yeah.
You have some time by yourself, right?
Yeah.
So, it could be a weekend because you only record maybe an hour session anyway. So, that kind of kicks it on the spot.
And if you're going for two, give yourself a break in between because the energy it takes to go from the beginning of the show to the end of the show will be very different. If like we're doing two shows today, and I'm feeling it a little bit, but I had coffee, so I'm good. So make sure that whatever energy you think you have, leave 25% of it for the end.
Yeah.
And level yourself off. It's gonna take time to, and again, that's my next point, learn to talk to each other, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because me and Winston, you'll watch the first episode, we were just talking over and like, and we don't mean to. We need to learn each other's mannerisms when I stop.
Oh, yeah. So we know.
See that? Now we know.
So when he stops, I know I can kick in. Just definitely have a plan. And, I said the batch recording you mentioned earlier, I have two sessions rather than just record one. 3 is a bit too much. And I think record the podcast for between about an hour or under 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Is that a good time? Because I think we tried more than that.
We're trying to get to 30, but I think
it's not
we
enough
have too
time.
much to say.
Too much to say.
Leave a comment below if you agree.
Yeah. But anything over an hour is a bit. I think
it's a bit much.
Too much, yeah.
It's a bit much.
But between 45 and an hour is a good time, right?
Also, because we're inconsistent, like the other thing, if you can get a consistent space every week, it makes a big deal to your audio and also to the lighting and everything so that your post-production is fast. Like when we're done the show, basically I have 2 episodes. I dumped both cards for both episodes and I go to post immediately because I know that I can snip the ends off all this after we say goodbye to you guys. It's already done. The show's already done. I just need to tweak the audio just a little bit, just to kind of make it a little bit more radio sexy, whatever. and it's done, right? It's done. It goes up. Once that's uploaded to YouTube.
Yep.
I go to working on the thumbnails and also the titles while Winston works on the time codes. Now, time codes isn't something that is specifically, it's difficult to do because you want to include everything in there, but really, you're trying to do the time codes for important things that not only people think that are important, but also for search engines as well too, because our time codes end up on YouTube as search results. So if there's 10 moments in the in the video, they're important. There should be no typos. They should be important. YouTube doesn't care about the hosts in this one, unfortunately. So your top 10 moments should be your best moments for search engine optimization.
Yeah. It's like phrase the time codes or the titles as if you were asking questions in the Google search.
Yeah.
So that way it helps. And if it doesn't kind of like, if it's too long, it can be a bit problematic. But if you have a nice short question, type that in to the Google search. If something comes up, then that's the one that you want to put in to the time
share.
codes. Yeah.
This is a data point that you should all know. By doing that, we were able to increase our search engine organic search from 3% in 2022 to 30% in 2023.
Wow. Is that search?
You didn't know that? I thought I told you that.
You told me that it improved,
that.
but I didn't know it was that much.
No, it's very important that you get the time codes right.
Wow.
I actually go back and edit your stuff sometimes because it needs to be correct. Your top 10 moments in your video need to be the best moments first before anything else. YouTube doesn't care about the hosts. They don't care about what's going on that's extracurricular. They see this video about the worst EV of 2023, for example. They want to know who it is. They want to know why it is. And they want to know what, certain key elements of this vehicle, why it makes it so crap. Sorry, VinFast.
But yeah, watch that episode. It's fun.
Yeah, it's funny. So yeah, those are kind of the things that on the surface that we need to do as people first to get everything going. And this is even before the equipment, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the equipment will help, but these are all the things that you need to get into your workflow first before you start thinking about the equipment.
Yeah. So, and of course, the spreadsheets, and you mentioned when you Google Sheets, the catalog, you can catalog all the past, present, and future shows because, of course, then that's the workflow and stuff
Rundowns.
like that. Rundowns. Write short, what were the descriptions? You mentioned about the descriptions. Keep it short. Keep it short and have a engaging.
Try not to have
description.
duplicate content and make sure that the description initially is something that it's a teaser. It's like your log lines for a TV show in the middle of the night. A wild horse meets with blah blah blah, and this happens. Like give it some suspense or something like that, and of course include your branding in that as well too.
Yeah, you did a quite what's the word? Sell the sizzle.
Oh yeah, don't sell the steak, sell the sizzle, right? We want the steak is inside the podcast, but you want to get people enticed enough with the title, thumbnail, and everything get them to at least click into it. We've had some really great shows where the retention's been extremely high because we checked all the boxes. But sometimes people come in at different times or they resume watching later on, and we appreciate you for that, to not abandon us as well. We know you're out there, okay? So those are all things that help out, and if we can do that better in any sort of way, the feedback form is actually just below this podcast. So please leave a comment.
Yeah, leave a comment.
Right? Always, right? Now, let's talk about equipment. What has for us, or actually, what has changed the most for you? Let's just talk about your stuff.
Oh, God. Well, I first started with, because when I asked you to do the podcast, I have no clue. I knew what a podcast was. I knew what to do with a podcast, kind of, right? With my little newbie thinking. Anyway, I use my gaming equipment, right? So I got gaming mic, gaming headset. That's it. Of course, webcam. And then moving on. You sold me then. I think it was a Shure SM57.
A Shure FM58.
58. One of those mics.
Very solid microphone.
Yeah, the Obama mic, you said, right?
Oh, yeah. All presidents use this microphone to do public addresses with huge muffs on it because they're in the wind. So this is not a bad microphone. It's just for most intents and purposes, it's a very versatile microphone. This is also
the audio difference. The quality was phenomenal.
Yeah,
way better than my gaming mic.
We didn't pay full price for that either.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, this is another pro tip: don't buy your stuff new if you can help it.
Oh yeah.
We actually bought used from a Canadian retailer. If you have the same where you are, like a Sweetwater or something like that, we have Long and McQuaid. They do trade-ins and everything.
Yep.
It was such a treat to be able to buy most of our stuff, because we didn't know if we were going to keep going. So buying it not at retail was good. And also having the ability to trade it back for credit for something else that we wanted was fantastic. So everything that I think, with the exception of our SM7, actually, I actually traded a bunch of stuff for this. I wanted a brand new one. Anyway, that helps out a lot if you have a store that's able to help out with that.
So use the SM57, right? And with I think it was a RODE interface, audio interface.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Increased my audio quality way up there. And then on top that, I've used my 64 camera for the video. And
we still do.
I still do.
Yeah.
And we're looking to upgrade that later on, maybe. But yeah, soon, later. And then we moved on to, because you upgraded to the SM7B, right? And I heard the audio quality on that. I thought, wait, that sounds really sexy.
I bought the microphone first, but that ended up being a mistake because I went down the same route that a lot of podcasters went, which is I bought the SM7B. Great. I don't have enough gain. I need to buy this little dynamite stick thing that boosts the gain. Plug it into here. Great. Still don't have enough range. I got another interface that had this warm, like tube-like sound. Great. Still not SM7B sound. Okay. So I had a bunch of audio equipment that I had sitting around that I thought was worth nothing. Turns out it's worth a lot. So I traded in like an audio recorder, a bunch of stuff, old microphones and everything like that. I ended up getting the Rodecaster Pro II.
Which is
our board that's sitting right
now.
beside us that's recording. And the most wonderful thing in the world is the fact that because it runs off PD, power delivery, power banks, you can actually take this anywhere in the world. In fact, when we went to Taiwan, we'll discuss that a little bit further, it ran completely off of power because we don't know what the power quality is anywhere in the world, right? So by having power banks running our stuff, we know that we're not subject to ground issues. And we're not subject to...
I'm still amazed.
It's fantastic. It runs for hours. This power bank that I have, it's 20,000 milliamp hour. It's PD, 45 watts. It comes from Amazon. I paid like, what, $60 for this thing when it was on sale. I didn't actually charge it for 3 days straight in Taiwan when we were recording. And I could have kept it going until the end. But obviously, you don't want to do that to batteries.
Yeah, I'm surprised because that's
got lots of lights.
That whole thing and powering these mics at the same time.
RGB. It's got RGBs all over the place and an LCD screen. So this has been fantastic for us, but not for the reason that you think. The main reason that we had to have something like this is because when we went to Taiwan, we were introducing a third element, which is a guest. Okay.
Yeah.
We had to have something that would support 2, 3, 4 people at the same
channels.
time. So when we went to Taiwan, we needed to make sure that our setup was not only bomb-proof, but also it would be able to record individual channels.
That's right.
And allow us to actually edit those channels because me and Winston, we know how to talk to each other. We know how to talk into our mics. Having a guest is a variable that we have to post-produce for. So if a person leans back and talks like this all the time, it's very quiet, I need to be able to jack that channel up. So by being able to do multi-channel recording and everything like that, I was able to correct the audio of our guests to make sure that they sounded the same level as all of us, that they were intelligible, he or she was intelligible, sounded really great. And because it has post-processing in it, it gave this sparkle and this broadcast sound that I really found very good in post because I could use all of this to make the sound fuller without doing a lot of tweaking. It was basically just levels for me. Okay. And then as far as the camera goes, right?
Well, yeah, the camera.
The same thing, right?
Yeah, it's just the same camera.
Same camera.
Does the work. The only thing we did recently is to change the lens.
We changed the lens, okay?
Yeah.
And this is kind of one of the eye-openers here. Most people think that lenses make no difference, okay?
It does.
Right? First, we covered the audio. We wanted to make sure that, like, this is a progression. Rundown, 100 ideas, more rundowns, show, workflow, and everything. We saved as much time as we could until we got to the equipment. We did incremental upgrades in microphone. Then we realized that we needed something to take a lot of the post-production out of the way so that these two sound the same.
Yeah.
So when we went to Taiwan, we actually rented our microphones, all of them. We took the same microphone. We took the same. This is before Winston got the SM7B. I rented 2 more so that I would have mine and 2 more so that we all sounded the same. So consistency.
Consistency is the key, yeah.
So the Rodecaster Pro II gives us additional speed, gives us consistent sound.
Yeah.
All right. And gives us multi-channel support so that we could actually help out our guests to sound good.
Yeah, that's right.
So that was very important.
But before all of this, how we first started was using an online platform. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
It was, I think it was a company called Riverside FM.
Don't do it.
It was basically an online recording for podcasts. And we started with using that because we didn't have the equipment at the time. I was using my gaming mics and all that kind of stuff. But we wanted to test the waters, didn't we, right?
Yeah. Keep in mind, this was during our not in-person recording. So this is taking it back just a step. If you are wanting to record with someone that's across the country, this is information you need to know.
Yeah. And also if you have guests which are not in your location, right, abroad or maybe a different town, online platform is a way to go if you want to give that a try as well. But we found that it's sometimes when, I think Riverside first started to be okay, but it was a free platform. And of course you can subscribe to have a better service. But as time went by, there was more and more people signing up, and I think it overloaded the servers or something that happened. The platform became really unreliable. It was buggy. It was
this drift.
It was
The
terrible.
audio and video drifting apart was just I ripped my hair out. Like, seriously, what we wanted was a platform that allowed us to record like we do Zoom, where we get the best possible audio and the best possible video. So they were advertising 48K, 16-bit. They were advertising 4K video recording. On both ends, we had 4K cameras. On both ends, we had a good audio interface, and we recorded. And somewhere in between, like 20 minutes and beyond, it started drifting out. So I could never synchronize our podcast together.
It was bad.
None of the tracks worked. We thought that it was just us, but sure enough, and we even offered to work with them, say, hey, look, if you don't charge us, we'll try to figure this out. We'll do as many podcasts as it takes. But sure enough, people just started chiming in all of a sudden that their service was being crap.
Yeah. It wasn't just us. It was a few others. Yeah.
Really, like there was one podcaster, YouTube podcaster. He made this channel all about Riverside, and he stopped talking about them because he was just so upset because he let so many people down by recommending the service.
That's right. And also, if you spend so much time to do the rundown and you research and everything, right, and you get the time to record, and then suddenly you record and it was a complete failure because of their bad service, it's difficult because then we lost an episode.
How many times did we redo our Black Friday episode?
Last year, we must have done it about 3 times.
2 or 3 times, right? And that was when we had to part ways. And we actually did a episode where we recorded. I think we did it in person. No, we didn't do it in person. We just had a backup on OBS. Recording. We showed all of the errors that happened in a single recording. And that continues to be one of our more popular shows for the people that are on this platform.
Yeah, we decided not to use Riverside's own recording platform. We got their interface to do our screen share. But then I hit the OBS recording separately on my computer. So I had a footage, but it wasn't 4K though. So it's just a 1080p.
But it showed everyone we weren't BSing you. Like, it was that bad in real time. And it's kind of sad because I think that they had a really great concept. They had an opportunity to work with us to get better. And they chose not to.
I know they
chose not to, guys.
Yeah. So in the end, then we tried different things. I think there's always a useful purpose for using online recording platforms because that's a good way to do like remote recordings as well as arranging interviews with different people from different locations. You'll always need that, and we're still looking for an online platform for that. But in the meantime, we're still recording live. In person.
This works best.
Because
like we're mentioning, this is the way to do it, right?
Yeah.
Like podcasts, like all the big podcasters out there, they all record in person. You know, for better or for worse, whether you agree with their politics or not. But the big podcasters are always in the same room because they feed off the energy of the person beside them.
Right, definitely.
That's the most important thing. And if you can find a good co-host, unless you're really awesome at talking to yourself. There's people that have a really great host. So we covered the online platform, and again, jury is still out on that. This is still the way to do it. The SM7B microphones are the industry standard, but you don't have to have this. You don't have to. There are ways to record, like Rode, for example, has like. The Rodecaster is the epitome of their ethos, but they also have these USB microphones that plug into a laptop.
That's right.
That you can actually record right on the laptop as well too, using their own software. It's a virtual mixer, so that's a much more inexpensive way to do it. If you can find a music shop that offers used equipment or slightly used equipment, these USB microphones from Rode, you can pick them up for cheaper. And you can plug them all in, and then you can have a great recording with that with a co-host as well too. People do it all the time with an audio interface or with just USB microphones, playing guitar, singing to that. Like, this is the equipment, this is the level that you kind of want to start at because it's inexpensive overall. You can get the equipment used, and then you can decide whether or not podcasting is for you because it's the workflow that matters the most. We already shared that, we started with 100 episodes. We needed to have rundowns for a show, any show that we wanted to record. It's not just like, let's just sit down and just see what happens. that's just a recipe for disaster. Absolutely. And once you get to the third show, you'll realize that either you quit or you go on to 20. And then if you get to 20, why not 21?
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you stop at 20, you realize that maybe these are the things that you could have gone back to fix your workflow. And once you're at show number 21, you're now at the top 1% of all
top
podcasts
1%.
in the world. Wow. Okay, so we are the top 1%.
There's a question I wanted to ask you. So, of course, audio, when you do podcast, the audio is the key, right?
Audio is king.
Yeah, it's king. So with the video, because we use different, we'd use 1080p one time.
Yeah.
Now we're using 4K, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the lens, because camera-wise, I'm not very,
Okay. Well, if any of you have seen episode 1 of season 6, which is the season that you're in right now, where this is probably episode 13 or 14 that you're listening to right now. In episode 1, the show looks a certain way because it's a kit lens that Winston had on his A6400 Sony. I had a problem with trying to grade it because it was not great. We also had some lighting issues as well too, because it was kind of dark in here until we figured out all the lights. So we needed an extra stop or two of light that lens couldn't provide us because it was a variable aperture. So since I shoot Sony as well too, I brought in one of my Zeiss 16-35 f4 lenses. I put it on there and immediately contrast, color, the f4, everything just kind of worked. And I didn't have to touch the footage again.
Oh, nice.
Right?
Okay.
So again, saving time. Sometimes equipment can do it. But before you get to the equipment, get all the other stuff right first.
Yeah, true.
Okay? True. It just made, and because this is a season where, we're going to be talking about sponsors and how to get them, it was something that we just wanted to give our sponsors just a little bit more quality, a little bit more pop. They already like our format. It's the reason why they're working with us. They already like the fact that we run shows with a rundown, that we're somewhat semi-scripted, so that when they have a featured show, I can send them the rundown. Here's what we're going to talk about. They just scribble. Oh, here's some extra stuff that we think you should include.
Yep.
The feedback is good. Feedback is easy because if it's on your head, you can't share that with anyone, right? If it's on paper, people can give you their notes, their thoughts, and everything like that.
Yeah.
And because our sponsors are cool, you can either go with it and accept it, or you can reject it and come up with another idea.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
And it's very important to find sponsors that you can actually work with, because if you can't work with them in a collaborative way, then you sell out. You sold out completely, because your thoughts, your ideas don't matter anymore. It's them. Right?
Yeah, and it doesn't match maybe the way of thinking, and the ideas may not work for them. So you're gonna have to figure out what best works for them as well.
So why did Taiwan work? So I think that one of our first things that we got out of the way was that we got our first sponsors. Thank you, Winston, for instigating that. I wasn't even sure if COMPUTEX was the right fit, because we wanted to do a more of a broad spectrum tech kind of pop sci-fi show, and I was like, COMPUTEX, that's really, really techy. But apparently there are some aspects of that show that aren't so much, and we learned so much more about the industry as a whole. So how did that start?
Well, I think it was during COVID. There wasn't a lot of events happening, and I knew the events going to happen when they open back up. It was 2023. It was going to. So we were thinking about at the end of 2022. It was going to be in June 2023, right? So there's some time to think about, and I think we could do some podcasts, something different at COMPUTEX 2023.
Now, before we get any deeper, and I apologize, COMPUTEX is the largest IT show in the world. This is where all of the major players like AMD, Intel, NVIDIA, they come to the show to show off their products that may not even make it to the mainstream market. Or they sell ICs, all these things, nuts and bolts of the industry to put things together. And they're just showing off prototypes. They're trying to get a feel of things.
It's like CES, but in Asia, right, in Taiwan.
But even further up the chain of the future. Because these products may or may not make it to CES. That's the beauty of this show.
It's
on
really
the computer side.
A lot of prototype stuff as well. A lot of new stuff that that they'll be launching. It's very more computer related.
It's more nuts and bolts than anything else. It's like literally, these are the pieces that we have. What do you want to do with them? Right? So cool in that respect. So happens in Taiwan every single year. They used to have one in China, but they did away with that. CS Asia.
Yeah.
Not CS Asia. No, there was COMPUTEX somewhere else, I think.
There was it was COMPUTEX I think it was in Europe actually.
Wow.
As
Okay.
well.
So
but
it's in Taiwan.
It didn't work at the end.
It's all Taiwan.
It's all Taiwan now.
And we made it there. We made it there across the world.
It was something different. It was something new, and I started to approach to the sponsors to see what they think, and I think, okay, it's the sponsors that not like a whole bunch of sponsors. We don't talking about 20 sponsors. No, we're talking about sponsors that you work with regularly, right?
Yeah. And or rather, Winston works with regularly.
So it was three of them. It was ASRock, it was Thermotech, and there's a bunch of others, but they work with me regularly anyway. And I approached them with this. I said, "Are you interested in doing something different?" And they said, "Yeah, okay, let's just try it."
And oh boy, was it different.
We didn't know what to do, really.
No.
It was basically, I had three people on board. It was ASRock, Thermotech, and it was, I think, I can't remember, Cougar.
Yeah.
And those are the three sponsors, really, that kind of like got us started.
Yeah.
In the end, instead of recording 3 podcasts, we ended up recording like 20.
Yeah. There was a lot.
Because what happened was that when we started recording, we didn't even have a recording booth. We were going to go to their booth to do the recording, and we realized it's going to be way too noisy.
Oh God, yeah.
So thanks to Stephen and his connections in Taiwan, we managed to get a little room within the floor of the exhibition.
And I want to thank Tessa, our contact on the ground. Thank you so much for helping us out with that. You made our podcast show what it is. As a result of the show, we had such a great time with that, and we appreciate the care that you gave us. We did something that no one else was doing at the show, and I think she saw the potential of that.
That's right.
And we have to start having those conversations again soon, because we would love to have couches and stuff like that. It was so cool. Talk to more people, because the stories we told were not the stories we thought we were going to tell.
Exactly. Because we went to record 3. We ended up recording 20, and what happened was, a lot of people starting to take note and say, "Hey, Winston and Stephen doing their podcast. I want to be in it. Have they got time?" And we ended up doing like a load of people.
We booked a bunch.
And the funny thing was, it wasn't about the company. It wasn't about the brand as much. We wanted to know what the person that we know. For example, it was Cougar Otto, right?
Yeah.
It was ASRock's Edwin, and it was Thermotech, Mike.
Yeah. And each of these people, they had a specific takeaway. Cougar Otto was a musician. He actually was in the same room with Alice Cooper. He shared breakfast with them. And then we had Edwin from ASRock. He let us know that that company doesn't hire any frontline staff. They're over 30 for a very good reason, because that's their demographic.
Yeah.
And then we also had
Thermal Mike.
Oh my God.
And then
he was out there.
Yeah, it was crazy. He was talking about all his. He did the streaming thing. And
he wasn't exactly asked to, but he helped so many people stay alive, because he doesn't think he's a hero, but really
it was during COVID.
Yeah, there's people out there that literally, without human interaction, they die inside. And the fact that Thermal Mike came on every single week to help these people cope during a very weird time in history, just to have some human connection really helped these people out. Like, dude, thank you, Thermal Mike.
Yeah, and then of course your friend Rob.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, that was amazing, because I didn't even know.
Oh no, Rob Teller.
Yeah,
Shannon Rob's cool too. But Rob Teller, holy crap. Yeah. Rob Teller from Height.
Yeah.
Wow, that was quite the story. I mean, forum lurker to head of product for one of the most cutting edge companies that will soon come to be one of the next NZXTs in the world. And he was actually part of that meteoric rise with Johnny Hull as well too. So I mean, he's quite the character. He's always level-headed, and he's also the serial entrepreneur, and I love that guy.
and what we took away from the podcast that we did was, it wasn't about the topics as such, really. It was about the person. It was about stories. Now we found out what engaged the audience is stories.
Yeah.
That's what's important, I think, is to give them give the chance for those guys to tell them their side of the story.
Yeah. To kind of have, like, in order for you to love a product, you kind of have to love a persona. So I'll give you an example. Apple fans love Steve Jobs. He's gone away now, but it's always about Steve would want this. Steve would want. It's always about Steve. For better or for worse, Elon Musk. All the companies that he touches, for better or for worse, something Elon. Right? There's a persona that you associate with a company that makes you love them. It's like a personality or something like that drives you. And I think that circling back to how do we talk about sponsors? How do we get sponsors? You do something different. You don't just talk about the products and the specs. No one cares about the product at the end of the day. They care about the journey, the hero's journey.
Yeah.
I had this idea for this weird product and everyone shot it down. But then this guy over in R&D said, hey, we can make this work.
Yeah.
That's what we want to hear.
And we did an interview with the CEO of Thermaltake.
That was our first one.
Kenny Lin.
All of a sudden, in the middle of his bike shop. This is a guy that is in the IT industry. What the heck is he doing with a bike shop? It was a story that only the CEO could tell us because none of his lieutenants could tell that story. They didn't understand like he did.
Yeah, by telling the story himself, now we have a better understanding why.
And he was so excited to tell it because I guess in a sense, it was kind of wacky. But I understood because I actually have a cycling background. I was like, wait a second, this does make sense.
Yeah. You'll understand once you listen to that episode.
Yeah, it's on our fifth or fourth season. Yeah, it's back there somewhere.
It was doing a competition.
It was a really good one.
And then, of course, we did the CEO with Kulo Master, and he's a chef, right?
He loves to cook. The guy loves to cook.
Yeah.
And he built a building with a kitchen that hires top-end chefs to create. And we even found out that their new building in Neihu, Taiwan, it's often used in the middle of the night by film crews to highlight as an evil lair or like some sort of government agency because it looks like a huge heat
sink, right? With fins going across.
Like, you don't do that in North America because you have to get permits and shut down roads and get police involved.
Yeah.
In Taiwan, they move the whole crew in. They do their shots and then they run away.
They film very secretly and they walk away.
In secret. So I guess the point is that when you're talking to sponsors, you want to kind of give them the sizzle. Less of the steak comes later, but you want to kind of give them that sizzle that this is what you're going to do. It's going to be interesting because it touches on these things. It's going to be different than everyone else, even if you're small. Right?
Yeah. That's right, and keep recording. I mean, be consistent. Speak to the brands that you work with. They might need a little time. A little bit convinced because everything goes to HQ, right?
Yeah.
They don't make the decision. It's HQ that makes the decision.
Provide progress reports to them so that they can feed it up the chain. Like the fact that we got from 3% organic traffic to 30% organic traffic is incredible. That means that it's not always reflected in their views because they're seeing fragments of our show, but they're getting the response.
You're probably thinking, how do we get those numbers? It's all in the YouTube statistics, right?
Yeah,
and,
it's all there.
Analytics. Just go in there and take a look because you get all the numbers there.
Yeah, like if you do enough shows, you're going to see it built for you. You're going to see the profile. You're going to see that Vietnam, people from Vietnam have been hating on our video of the VinFast. We know you're out there. It's okay. But that's all engagement. You see the dislikes and everything, but you also see where people are coming from, their age groups and everything like that, your most popular videos, the points in the videos that are actually doing the best and the points that are failing you, and you can learn from those experiences, right? And the fact that we're data-driven like that, those are good things to share with your sponsor, your collaborator, or your partner because they want to know that they're investing in the right people to carry on and share their message. And I hope that, like when you are doing that, you want to make sure that it is a collaboration. It is a partnership. Kingston, they're our partner. Anytime that, like, for instance, we had an episode previously that was like, we're kind of down on it because we just weren't excited about what Amazon and Microsoft were doing.
Yeah. So,
and it felt really forced for us to actually mention our sponsor because we don't really want to mention. It's kind of a down episode, but man, we got to mention them anyway. So let's do our best. they got the vibe that, maybe there was something wrong. There wasn't anything wrong. It's just that it's not you guys. It's just the other companies. They brought us down. So they were concerned. They were genuinely concerned that is there anything that they could do to help us out? That's refreshing. Those are the sponsors that you want.
Get the feedback. Right? Don't look at it as
it's not negative.
A negative thing, because they want feedback and they give you feedback because they want to help you to improve and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
So again, main thing is be consistent and something you might get given a chance to do something better, then go for it, And, after Taiwan, what happened? Because Taiwan was a really good experience, and I think we wanted more, right?
We wanted more, and we started working with, and then I know that you guys already know this if you've been watching season 6, is that we started working with Kingston Technology.
That's right.
This is kind of an example of someone that, partner that collaborates with you. They want you to do what you do. That provides a lot of ideas and feedback and everything. That knows that they can put ideas in front of you and see what you do with it, or if that feels right. They're not forcing you to do it. They just want to see what your feedback is on this idea and how we can bring it forward.
Yeah.
And the main thing that we want to put through with this sponsor is that there's too many product plugs out there. Too many, right? It seems inauthentic, and that's not something that we want to do with any sponsor. So when we work with Kingston Technology, we wanted to integrate them in a very natural way. So they sent us a bunch of their products. They sent us like all sorts of products that we could play with, get experience with. And sure enough, it worked, because a lot of times when I'm mentioning something, I'm like, hey, I've got this friend of mine that, this Kingston high endurance card. Winston just bought a dash cam. He's going to need this because I've had these cards fail before because I bought the cheap eBay one. You don't want that in the place that he lives, in Richmond, where he can catch some pretty funny, meme-worthy videos of people crashing into things.
Just this month, there's been like 5 crashes just down the road. It was just crazy. And I'm not sure if they got any dash cams, but definitely how we got the footage is someone else have got the dash cam footage.
Bingo, right? And also, USB portable external, NVMe drives, right? These are great things to put into your Rivian, your Lucid, and your Tesla. Which are Teslas are like they're more popular than Honda Civics here. I kid you, they're everywhere. And these were great ideas that we kind of just played with, right? And anytime there was a natural in for us to mention any sort of product, could be anyone, we just stuck a Kingston one in because we've been playing with it. So this kind of natural, gentle approach to everything, where we've actually used these products, which much more authentic than trying to. And the word from our sponsor, no, we don't do that.
You know what? I hate that. You're watching a video, right, from one of your followers following whatever, and then suddenly he'll go into a little bit of intro, and there's this time for our sponsors, one word from our sponsors, and then it's like a 15-second, 30-second of that whatever software that they're promoting, and I'm thinking, what the hell?
We wanted to solve problems with their products, and that was our selling point, because if we couldn't solve a problem with their product or prevent a problem from happening, like with the footage corrupting on an micro SD card, we didn't do it. And that's why they were concerned about the one episode where we it was almost like we forced it. It wasn't about them. And to have sponsors like that really make a big difference. You just have to find them. They're willing to work with you. Just don't shortchange yourself. And these are kind of some of the things that you really need to look out for. Like, for example, you have more to give than you think. You have a podcast. It may not be the biggest podcast. It may not be Joe Rogan level or anything like that, but you have a engaged following based on your numbers. You also might have social media numbers because you are a content creator as well too. Mm-hmm. Take that all into consideration. Work out what it costs for you to do the podcast as well too. Don't shortchange you, right? If you have to take a day off work to work on this, factor that in. That's part of what you have to charge for it over X amount of episodes, right?
Yep.
Don't shortchange yourself on that. Your value is your word. So when we say something here, we want it to mean something, even though there's a sponsor behind it. We choose sponsors like Kingston that let us say what we need to say and work with them in a very meaningful and symbiotic way. The other thing too is we went on to actually integrate other brands. Don't think that just because you're a tech podcast that you need to work with tech companies, right? Sometimes that kind of pigeonholes and niches you down. We want to be a broad spectrum tech, kind of a pop tech, sci-fi kind of a podcast where we just talk about nerdy and geeky things. Well, guess what? Tires are nerdy and geeky as well too.
I couldn't believe there's a lot of technology
There's
behind
so much
tires.
tech in tires, and you have to watch episode 70 where we talk about one of the biggest upgrades for vehicles in Canada, which is winter tires. It's not about the snow. Okay, there's so much more to it, and all this tech. I mean, come on now. That's technical. This is R&D. This is
interesting.
In one of the companies that we talked about, Nokian, they became a phone company at some point. So they're part of the tech as well too. So always look outside of your bubble to see if there's integration. We're still looking for a coffee sponsor. Please sponsor us. Or soft drink company. Please sponsor us to keep us alive. Okay. Or snacks. See, all these things kind of work. All these things kind of work together because they help you continue to produce your show, continue to have that carrot dangling in front of you. And, like if there's an opportunity to do a giveaway, which we were actually doing still, where we're giving away one of these.
Oh, one of these USBs. Okay.
Okay. The Iron Key 32 gigabyte keypad 200. This was from our cybersecurity episode. We have,
go watch that.
2 more. Okay. The next 2 Canadians to share their story, please reach out to us using the information in that video. Yeah. And please claim these.
It's our podcast show at gmail.com.
Yeah. And follow the directions in the show. It's episode number, I can't remember. It's the cybersecurity show.
That's
cybersecurity show.
My brother's in there as well.
Yeah. So watch that show. Send us your story. I need to send these out quick because we have a couple other people that are waiting for theirs. So I want to send these out too. All right.
Yeah.
That was the plug for the giveaway, but it's something for you. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So it can be difficult to navigate. I mean, you need the right balance between the different costs and the effort that you spend on recording, based on your current situation. Like you said, you have family, there's limited time and stuff like that. You might have to take a day off work.
If you don't know what you're worth, you don't know how much to charge.
Yeah.
So I took out a spreadsheet. I timed everything that he does. I do, put it on a sheet, reasonable rate. What does it cost? Yeah. Because I'm a commercial actor as well too. I have to factor in the fact that if I'm working with Kingston, and I'm doing an audition for another tech company, there may be a conflict. I actually have to put that on the sheet. If they choose to reject me based on that, I lose the job. So I have to be compensated for that as well too. And I have to look for other work. Winston has his own following and everything like that. Sometimes other sponsors don't like working with him because, maybe he's worked with Kingston. He can't work with G-Skill or Samsung or something like that. We have to factor that all in these partnerships because we want to be fair. And the same goes for Cal Tire. If I work with Cal Tire, I don't work with Canadian Tire or any other brand that has to do with tires, right? So it's all being fair. Yeah. It's all having that exclusivity. Normally, it's a 6-month exclusivity for myself through me. After 6 months, no one cares. But keep that into consideration and make sure that you can't eat product. So if they offer thousands of dollars in products, that's great. We can give that away. But I can't eat Rex heads. I can't eat micro SD. No, I can't.
How many power supplies have you eaten?
I've eaten many in the past, and I refuse to do it again. All right.
Yeah, you can't eat them.
You can't eat them.
You can't sell them because they're used and they're secondhand, and you're not going to get much from it.
No.
It's a bit of a pain.
No.
Talking about Cal Tire, I do like what they do because they like to experiment in new ways to reach out to new customers and stuff like that. Yeah. The social media, YouTube, like I said, and Instagram and podcasts. Now we're doing that.
Yeah.
New ways to reach potential, customers. And I think
absolutely.
Plus, it educates people as well because I have no clue.
Well,
and by doing this podcast with me and you, I now have a better knowledge on what winter tires are about.
Yeah, and only 70% of Canadians use winter tires or are aware of them. Right? There's another 30% that we can help out there. Now, some people are going to be stubborn. They think they're Spider-Man with spidey senses and they can ride on any tire that they want.
Yeah.
But the fact remains is that you're not powerful enough with your spidey senses to avoid physics, right? An accident is contact. If you contact another vehicle because you failed to stop, you are in an accident. And 30% of all accidents, see, I remember this stuff, 30% of all accidents in Canada happen in the winter.
That's right. As I said, without doing this podcast with Cal Tire as our sponsor, I wouldn't know any of these information, right? And now it's educated me a little bit more. So now I understand what winter tires are about, when to change them, what the law is. If you want to know more about that, of course, there's websites online, the government website.
And this was a good fit because we ended up being so excited about the content that now we know it. And now we can pass it on to other people like yourself, right? And also friends and family. And this podcast will continue to live out there as evergreen content. So whenever winter rolls around and people are like, do I need winter tires? Google. Yes, I do need winter tires.
Actually, talk a little bit, explain to me what evergreen topics are versus the topics so for the Apple event, for example.
Yeah, the Apple event, it was an email, first of all. You can check that out in episode 69. But it was something that happens for 30 minutes and then it's gone off the radar. Right. It's done, right? After the announcement is done, it's done. So the key is to be able to have the opportunity to create content that is always addressing questions that people are asking. For example, why do McDonald's ice cream machines keep breaking? That's a very good question. And we actually answered that in a very, very early episode, right? When Winston explained how all the contracting and everything works and how they can't. Allegedly, right? Which has actually been brought to light that it's actually kind of true. So that part. Or how aircraft, each blade in a engine is $90,000 or $100K, right? And, or how the leasing works in aircraft. And these are things that people may ask questions about and they might want to know about, such as winter tires, which was actually it was such a fun episode to do because not only did we have a chance to work with one of Canada's top tire retailers who, are very serious about tires, but we get to engage and educate a bunch of people along the way as our viewership, as our views, as our subscriber count grows. And, hopefully by educating you on that, you end up being someone that we influence that will be saved or be out of an accident as a result of making these changes. Now, we're not going to convince everyone, but just the fact that you're aware of your risk and that you have this option to get better performance, and you've either taken it or not, you've made a choice, right? And we applaud you for making the choice. We hope you make the winter tire choice, but we can't force you. Okay. So what can we wrap up in this whole thing? What can we give? Talk to sponsors, go to events, keep recording your podcast, use the rundown method, use 100 ideas, find your voice, find your niche, and find a passion to keep moving forward and communicate with potential sponsors about your some things that you've achieved, how you might be able to work with them differently, know your costs of how much you need to do a show specifically for them before you get into any negotiation. I think we did pretty well with both Cal Tire and Kingston because we knew that we could produce the shows at the quality that we normally do, maybe a little bit more for the money that we asked for, and I think everyone was happy overall. I can't think of anything that it was a negative in either circumstance.
And me neither. I mean, I think we did what we planned to do, and it was fun. That's the main thing. I mean, if you feel that it's pressured, you won't have fun doing a podcast. Won't. And the main thing is you see that that kind of positive energy, right? If you're stressed and if you're like you're forced to do it, you're not going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And communication is key. So, there's no excuse, right? You got your phone, you got your email, text, messenger, whatever, WhatsApp. Talk to your sponsors, talk to people that you work with, talk to your co-host, and of course, get that kind of plan ahead as well. Plan ahead, getting that information out there and be transparent, because I mean, if you're doing stuff without letting them know, or you have something that might conflict of interest,
Yes.
then it's bad on both of you, right?
Communicate that and make sure that, hey, you're asking for this because you do this. This affects my work. I have to charge you for this. It's just fair.
Definitely.
Right.
And keep recording. Don't give up, because as Stephen said, 90% of people, podcasts fail
After three.
After three, and even more podcasts you quit. After 20 episodes.
That's a lot of podcasts. That's a lot of work to leave out there. But you see it all the time. You see all these podcasts on Google Podcasts that are like, what happens after this? It's episode 20 and they're gone.
Keep going,
right?
man. Keep going. As long as you're consistent and
So
definitely.
I think that we wanted to talk about the future, but I think the future is going to write itself, because I am not a crystal ball person. But I think we're just going to keep doing what we do, and I think we're just going to come up with more creative ideas. Hopefully Kingston's back on board for 2024, and Cal Tire, we're going to see them again hopefully in the spring. But we also had some ideas related to maybe driving across the country to pick up some EV tires in Montreal. Maybe, which is crazy, and we'll hopefully have a show about that in Montreal at that time, where we can share how our setup all works. That will be fun. Yeah. So hey, well, that's how it started, and I guess this is where it's ending, and it's going to keep going.
Yeah,
I can't believe we're going to be up to 100 shows in 2024. 100
soon. Episodes. That's like almost the entire half the entire season of Smallville.
Yeah.
Because that's 200 episodes, right?
Yeah, and we're in the top 1% of all podcasts in the world. All we needed was 21. We just quintupled that. So if you have any questions about podcasting at all, like anything at all, just drop them below. I've learned over the years that, I can give you advice. You can take it or you not. But if you do take it, just drop me a note. We're not going to be upset that you took an idea and ran with it. We're happy because that proves that our idea was good. That's all it proves, right?
Yeah.
And you can reach us on our podcast show on X, and also at our podcast show on Instagram. We're there, but we're going to be more active in the comments on YouTube. So please, anything, just pop us a note. Let's share some ideas. If you have a podcast about something, you probably have a podcast out there that you're just trying to get over the hump. Maybe we can offer some encouragement. Who knows? Maybe we can say, it's okay. You can do it.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that. But why? But next, why should people actually subscribe to our podcast here?
Yeah, why? Because it's a YouTube exclusive.
Oh,
yes,
that's why.
And don't forget to click on that notification, because you will get, of course, all our latest podcasts, which will be published on a Wednesday, every Wednesday at noon.
That's right. And also, don't forget to test out some of the new YouTube features that I've been hearing about. If we say subscribe, the subscribe button should light up or do something funny. And also, if you hit the subscribe button, it should give you like fireworks or something. So if you haven't subscribed, you should click the button and see if this happens. If it happens, please let us know below, because we're actually kind of curious if it works. I don't think it works when we do it, because we have a channel.
Because we're the owners of the
we're the owners of the
right?
channel. I'm curious as to other channels as well too. So we'll have to check that out as well too. Let's share the notes below, okay? But we appreciate you all sticking around. All 450 plus of you that are subscribed to us, plus all the thousands and tens of thousands of people that watch pieces of our podcast on organic search on Google, segments of our shows on our time codes and everything like that. I know the views don't count you, but we count you. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for watching.
And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.